Welcome everyone. Today we are going to explore a simple but powerful story. This story is about a man who wakes up one morning and realizes something strange. He cannot remember who he is. His name is gone from his mind. His past feels empty. His memories are silent. Imagine waking up one day and not knowing your own name, your job, your story, or your life. This situation is confusing, scary, and mysterious. But sometimes, losing something helps us discover something even more important. In this story, we will follow a man who begins a small journey to answer one question: who am I? If you enjoy learning English through simple and meaningful stories, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Here you will find clear stories, easy explanations, and practical English that helps you improve step by step. Our goal is not only to learn English, but to learn it naturally through stories and real situations. So subscribe now, and let's grow together. The man slowly opened his eyes. Morning light was coming through a small window. The room was quiet. For a moment, he stayed still. His head felt heavy, like he had slept for a very long time. He looked at the ceiling. It was white and plain. He turned his head to the side and saw a small wooden table next to the bed. On the table there was a glass of water and a small lamp. Everything looked normal, but something inside him felt wrong. A strange feeling began to grow in his chest. Something was missing. He sat up slowly and placed his feet on the floor. The room was simple. There was a chair, a small closet, and a mirror on the wall. He stood up and walked to the mirror. When he looked at the reflection, he saw the face of a young man. The man in the mirror had short dark hair and tired eyes. But the strange thing was this: he did not recognize the face. He stared at it for several seconds. The face was his, but it felt like he was looking at a stranger. He touched his face with his hand and spoke softly. "Who am I?" The question sounded simple, but the answer did not come. His mind was empty. He tried to remember his name. Nothing appeared. He tried to remember where he worked. Nothing. He tried to remember his family, his friends, his past. His mind stayed silent. The man felt a small wave of fear move through his body. How could someone forget everything? He looked around the room again, hoping something would help him remember. On the table he noticed a small piece of paper. His heart beat faster as he walked toward it. Maybe it was a note. Maybe someone had written his name. He picked up the paper and read the words carefully. The note said only one sentence: "Find the truth and you will find yourself." The message was strange. It did not explain anything. It did not give a name or an address. It only gave a mystery. The man read the sentence again and again. "Find the truth and you will find yourself." He did not understand exactly what it meant, but he felt that the message was important. It was the only clue he had. The man walked to the closet and opened it. Inside he saw a few simple clothes: a blue shirt, black pants, and a grey jacket. He quickly changed his clothes and looked at himself again in the mirror. The man in the reflection looked calm, But inside he felt many questions moving through his mind. Who wrote the note? Why could he not remember anything? And what truth was he supposed to find? After thinking for a moment, he decided to leave the room. Staying there would not give him answers. Maybe the world outside would help him understand something. He opened the door slowly and stepped into a small hallway. The hallway was quiet, but at the end he could see a door leading outside. When he walked out of the building, the fresh air touched his face. It was morning in a small town. People were walking on the street. Some were going to work. Some were buying food from small shops. Cars moved slowly along the road. Everything looked normal, but to him the world felt completely new. He began walking without a clear direction. As he walked, he looked at the faces of people around him. Maybe someone would recognize him. Maybe someone would call his name. But nobody did. Everyone continued with their own busy life. After several minutes of walking, he saw a small cafe on the corner of the street. The smell of coffee came through the open door. Something about the place felt comfortable. He walked inside and sat at a small table near the window. A woman who worked there approached him with a friendly smile. "Good morning," she said. "What would you like?" The man hesitated for a moment. Even simple questions felt difficult now. "Just coffee, please," he answered quietly. The woman nodded and returned a minute later with a warm cup of coffee. As he held the cup, he felt a small sense of calm. The smell of coffee felt familiar, even if he did not know why. Maybe small things like this were part of his past. He looked around the cafe. People were talking, laughing, and reading newspapers. Life continued normally for everyone else. Suddenly he wondered something important. If he did not know who he was before, maybe he could decide who he wanted to become now. This thought surprised him. For the first time since he woke up, he did not feel only fear. He felt curiosity. Maybe the note was not only about remembering the past. Maybe it was about discovering something deeper. While he was thinking, the woman from the cafe returned to his table. She looked at him carefully for a moment. "Excuse me," she said. "Have we met before?" The man's heart jumped. "I don't know," he replied honestly. "I'm trying to find out who I am." The woman looked surprised, but she did not laugh. Instead, her expression became thoughtful. "That sounds like a difficult situation," she said gently. The man told her the truth. He explained that he woke up in a room with no memory and only a strange note. The woman listened carefully. When he finished speaking, she smiled kindly. "You know," she said, "many people think they know who they are. They have a job, a name, and a routine. But deep inside, they are still searching for themselves." Her words made him think. Maybe identity was not only about memory. Maybe it was also about actions, choices, and values. After finishing his coffee, the man thanked her and continued walking through the town. As he walked, he began observing everything more carefully. A man helping an old woman cross the street. A child laughing while chasing a small dog. A shop owner opening his store for the day. Each moment showed him something about life. Kindness, joy, responsibility, community. Slowly, he started feeling something new inside himself. Even without memories, he could still choose how to act. Later that day he reached a small park. Birds were singing in the trees, and the wind moved softly through the leaves. He sat on a bench and looked at the sky. The question, "Who am I?" was still inside his mind, but now it felt different. Maybe the answer was not only in the past. Maybe the answer was in the present moment. He took a deep breath and thought carefully. If he helped people, he would be a helpful person. If he learned new things, he would become a learner. If he stayed kind, he would be a kind man. Maybe identity was not only something we remember. Maybe it is something we create every day through our actions. The man stood up from the bench with a calm feeling in his heart. His past was still a mystery. His name was still unknown. But he understood something important now. The question, "Who am I?" does not always need one simple answer. Sometimes it is a journey. A journey we continue every day. And that day, the man decided to begin his journey again. Step by step. Choice by choice. Moment by moment. Because even without remembering the past, he could still build a meaningful future. And maybe one day, when he finally discovers the truth, he will also discover himself. The man stood quietly in the park for a moment after this realization. The wind moved gently through the trees, and the sunlight slowly warmed the ground. People around him continued their day as usual. A young boy was playing with a red ball near the path. An elderly couple was walking slowly while holding hands. A woman was reading a book on another bench. Everything looked peaceful and normal, but inside the man's mind something important had changed. A few hours ago he felt lost and afraid because he had no memories. But now he began to understand something deeper. Maybe life was not only about remembering the past. Maybe life was about discovering who we become in the present. He began walking again, slowly leaving the park behind him. As he walked through the streets of the small town, he tried to observe everything carefully. The sounds of cars, the voices of people talking, the smell of fresh bread from a bakery, and the laughter of children playing outside a school. Every small moment felt new to him, almost like he was experiencing the world for the first time. And strangely, that feeling was not only scary anymore. It was also beautiful. Sometimes when we live the same life every day, we stop noticing the simple things around us. But today, because he had no memories, everything felt fresh and meaningful. After walking for a while, he reached a small bridge that crossed over a quiet river. The water moved slowly below, reflecting the soft blue sky above. He leaned on the railing and looked at the water carefully. The river continued moving forward, never stopping, never going back. In that moment the man felt that the river was teaching him something important. Life moves forward just like this water. Even when we feel confused, even when we feel lost, life continues. The question is not only where we came from. The real question is where we decide to go next. Why he was standing there, An old man slowly walked onto the bridge and stopped beside him. The old man had kind eyes and a calm smile. He looked at the young man for a moment and then looked at the river. For a few seconds neither of them spoke. Finally the old man said softly, "Beautiful river, isn't it?" The young man nodded. "Yes, it is," he replied. The old man continued looking at the water and then said something unexpected. People come to this bridge when they are thinking deeply about life. The young man looked at him with surprise. "How do you know I am thinking about life?" he asked. The old man smiled gently. "Because I have seen that look before," he said. Many people carry that look when they are searching for something important. The young man felt comfortable talking to him. So he told the old man everything. He explained how he woke up that morning with no memory. He explained the strange note that said, "Find the truth and you will find yourself." And he explained how he had been walking all day trying to understand what it meant. The old man listened patiently without interrupting. When the young man finished speaking, the old man nodded slowly as if he was thinking deeply. "You know," the old man finally said, "many people spend their entire lives believing they know who they are. They have a name, a job, and a history. But inside their hearts, they are still asking the same question that you are asking today." The young man looked confused. "But they have their memories," he said. "I have nothing." The old man gently shook his head. "Memories are only stories from the past," he explained calmly. "They can help us understand where we came from, but they do not always tell us who we truly are." The young man thought about these words carefully. The old man continued speaking in a slow and thoughtful voice. "Who you are is not only in your past," he said. "Who you are is in your choices, your actions, and your heart. Every day you decide what kind of person you will be. Every small action writes a new page in your life story." The young man felt something powerful in those words. For the first time since the morning, he felt a deep sense of peace growing inside him. They stood together on the bridge for a few more minutes. The sun was beginning to move lower in the sky, and the light was becoming warmer and softer. The old man looked at the young man one more time and said, "Maybe losing your memory is not only a problem. Maybe it is also a gift." The young man looked surprised again. "A gift?" he asked. The old man nodded. "Yes," he replied. "Most people carry the weight of their past mistakes, their fears, and their doubts. But today you have something rare. You have the chance to build your identity with a clear heart and a fresh beginning." Those words touched the young man deeply. For the first time he did not feel like a man who had lost everything. Instead, he felt like a man who had been given a new start. After thanking the old man for his wisdom, he slowly left the bridge and continued walking through the town as the evening light filled the streets. As the sun began to set, the young man returned to the small park where he had sat earlier in the day. The sky was now painted with beautiful colors of orange and pink. The air felt calm and peaceful. He sat down on the same bench and looked at the sky again. The question, "Who am I?" was still inside his mind, but now it no longer felt like a frightening mystery. Instead, it felt like the beginning of an exciting journey. He reached into his pocket and took out the small note again. Find the truth and you will find yourself. Earlier that day those words felt confusing. But now he understood something important. The truth was not only hidden in lost memories. The truth was also in the way he lived each day. In the kindness he showed to others. In the courage he had to keep moving forward even when things were uncertain. As the sky slowly grew darker and the first stars began to appear, the young man smiled softly. Maybe tomorrow he would learn his name. Maybe someone would recognize him. Maybe his memories would return one day. But even if they did not, he knew something important now. A person is not only defined by their past. A person is defined by the heart they choose to live with every day. He stood up from the bench and looked around the quiet park one last time before leaving. In the distance, the lights of the town were beginning to glow as night arrived. The world continued moving forward, and now he felt ready to move forward with it. And maybe, in some way, this story is not only about that man. Maybe it is also about you. Sometimes in life we all feel a little lost. Sometimes we question our direction, our purpose, or our identity. But just like the man in this story, every new day gives us another chance to discover who we truly are. So remember this simple truth. Your past does not control your future. Your choices do. Your actions do. Your heart does. And if you enjoy stories like this, stories that help you learn English while also exploring life's deeper questions, make sure you stay with this channel. Because every story we share here is not only about improving your English. It is also about discovering new ideas, new perspectives, and sometimes even discovering a little more about yourself. Thank you for listening to this story today. And remember, the journey of learning English is very similar to the journey of discovering who you are. It takes patience. It takes practice. And most importantly, it takes curiosity. So keep learning, keep listening, and keep moving forward. Because every new story you hear brings you one step closer to becoming the person you want to be. And who knows, maybe one day, when you look back at your own journey, you will smile and say with confidence, "Now I truly know who I am."